He was just trying to get home. No car, no bus fare, just an old bicycle and a long, quiet road. His jacket was torn, his knees stiff, and every push on the pedal looked like it hurt. But when his bike chain snapped in front of the biker bar, the laughter started before he even hit the ground. "Nice ride, soldier," one shouted. "What happened? Run out of tanks?" Another sneered. No one offered a hand. No one asked his name. He didn't respond. He just picked up the chain, sat on the curb, and tried to fix it himself with fingers that had once held a rifle steadier than most men held their breath. And that's when it happened. The door to the bar swung open, and the man who stepped out, he wasn't laughing. Stick around, because what happened next changed the entire street and made even the loudest biker go silent. He was already tired when the chain snapped. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, the kind that sits in the bones, that settles behind the eyes and makes even silence feel loud. He'd been pedaling for hours, not to prove anything, not for fun, just because there was no other way to get to the clinic. The car was gone. The check hadn't cleared. The VA bus never came on time. So he rode. And the bike was old. Like him. The chain didn't just break. It popped, loud, metallic, almost theatrical. Right as he passed the front of the biker bar. It rolled once, wobbled, and then collapsed under him like it had finally had enough. He hit the ground. Not hard, but enough to feel the asphalt burn through his pants and pride. Then came the laugh. Sharp, unkind, close, from the patio. "Yo! The war hero's down." Another voice chimed in, louder, crueler. "Guess they don't teach bike maintenance in basic training." More laughter. Someone whistled. A bottle clinked. Phone clicked. He didn't get up right away. He sat there, hands on the ground, knees scraped, one elbow torn through the jacket he'd worn through 3 states and 2 wars. He looked at the chain. He knew it was useless, knew it needed tools he didn't carry, but he still reached for it, because doing something was better than showing them he had nothing. Another voice, a deeper one this time. Maybe he thought this was a charity stop. "Go back to the VA, old man." Laughter again, louder now, like a pack. He picked up the chain. His hands trembled. Not from rage, that would have been easier. From restraint. From decades of discipline. From every ounce of muscle memory that told him to hold the line. Someone stepped closer. Boots scraping concrete. A younger man. Big. Tank top. Sunglasses even though the sun was down. He squatted down next to him, beer in hand, leaned close enough for the veteran to smell the breath behind the insult. "You know, man, it's kind of pathetic. I mean," he paused to smirk. "You guys used to get saluted. Now look at you. Dropping chains outside a bar. Dressed like a garage sale." No one stopped him. No one said a word. Because the crowd on the patio had started to enjoy it. They were watching now. Sipping beer like this was part of the show. And he was the act. An old man fumbling with a broken bike under neon lights and the weight of invisible metals. He didn't look at them. Didn't speak. Just kept working on the chain, hands raw, knuckles cracked, like he could fix something the world had already decided was broken beyond repair. And then, the door swung open. Hard. Not loud, final. The kind of open that makes people shut up without knowing why. The man who stepped out didn't speak. But every single biker on that patio turned to look. And for the first time that night, no one laughed. His boots were heavy. Not because of weight, because of memory. The man who stepped out from the bar didn't have to shout. He didn't glare. He didn't need to. The air had already shifted. And the moment his left foot hit the ground, every pair of eyes on that patio went silent like a switch had been flipped in their spines. He wore black. Not like a biker, not for style. His vest was clean, his shirt tucked, gloves tight, and a patch above the heart no one had seen in years. Not military issue. Not club either. Just a symbol. An eagle broken in 2 and stitched back together. The kind of insignia you don't earn, unless you've lost something no one can give back. He walked past the first guy, the tank top joker still holding his beer midair, mouth half open like he couldn't decide whether to finish the sentence or swallow it. Then past the next, the one with the tattoo sleeve and the loud laugh now tightening in his throat. And then he stopped, right next to the old man, still on the ground, still fixing the chain, still saying nothing. The man looked down at him, not with pity, not even with respect, but with recognition, like two soldiers spotting each other from opposite ends of a battlefield. Years after the smoke cleared, he crouched, low, slow, then spoke, loud enough for every coward on the patio to hear. "What's your name, Sergeant?" The old man didn't look up, just muttered, "Dean." The man nodded. "You earned that patch?" Dean didn't answer, just kept working on the chain. The man reached out, touched the old field jacket light, like checking for something. His fingers found it. A stitch under the collar, not visible unless you knew exactly where to press. His face changed. He stood up, turned to the crowd. Voice calm, quiet. "He didn't just earn it. He buried more brothers than any of you ever had." No one moved. The guy in the tank top tried to joke again, weak, cracked. "Hey man, we were just—" The man stepped toward him. Not fast, not loud, but the look in his eyes was something no beer could blur. "Take that beer, finish it, and leave, before I make you kneel and apologize to the boots you're not worthy to shine." The man paled. His friend grabbed his arm, and just like that, they were gone. No one clapped. No one spoke, because the silence now, it wasn't shame. It was respect returned too late. Then the man turned back to Dean. "You still need that chain fixed?" Dean didn't smile, didn't cry, just nodded once. The man knelt beside him, and together, in front of the bar that laughed at him, they fixed the broken bike, one link at a time. They sat on the curb after it was over. The laughter was gone. The bar lights still buzzed, but no one dared open the door again. Some pretended to scroll their phones. Some left. Most just faded into the background like they never existed. Because the silence that two men can create, when it's earned, is louder than any crowd. Dean didn't speak first. The younger man, still nameless, reached into his back pocket and pulled out a cloth, wiped the oil off his hands, then reached into the inside flap of his vest and placed something down on the sidewalk between them. A worn photo, faded, wrinkled like it had been folded and unfolded for years. 7 men, desert uniforms, dust in the air, sun behind them. One of them, half smiling, lean, sharper jawline, was Dean. Dean didn't look surprised, just stared at it. Slow, quiet. "I thought they destroyed those," he finally said. The man replied, "Not all of us forgot." Dean blinked. "Which op?" "Takar Ridge. 03, third day in." Dean nodded. "That hill ate 5 of us before breakfast." The man nodded. "You carried the 6th. The silence hung again. But now it wasn't uncomfortable. It was sacred. "I was comms," the man added. "Buried up the slope with broken gear. I watched you drag him 30 meters through fire. Didn't know your name till months later. But I remembered your face." Dean still didn't look at him, just stared at the chain, freshly linked, barely holding tension. The man continued, softer now. "I got out in 09. Couldn't shake it. Joined up with guys who couldn't sleep either. We started a network, just us. Not VA. Not official. Just brothers watching for ghosts in plain sight." Dean finally turned to him. "That patch," he said. "The eagle. 2 wings torn. 1 soul holding them together." The man explained. "Not a club. Not a cause. Just a reminder." Dean looked down. Not at the patch. At his own hands. Still rough. Still strong. Still stained. "You carried him up that hill?" he asked again. "No," the man said. "You did. I just remembered." Dean stood slowly. His knee cracked. He checked the bike, tightened the strap on his pack. The man stood, too. "You riding far?" he asked. Dean shook his head. "Just enough." The man offered a handshake. Not firm, not proud, just real. Dean took it, then climbed onto the bike, pedaled once, twice, held. He didn't say thank you. He didn't need to. And as he rolled away under streetlight shadows, the man stood alone, photo still in hand, watching the quiet figure disappear into the dark. Because sometimes the loudest salute is no sound at all. Dean made it to the station just before midnight. A lone chevron off a rural road with 3 flickering lamps, one out-of-order vending machine, and a night clerk who looked no older than 16. The place smelled like cold diesel and old sugar. He parked the bike next to the ice chest, rested his hand on the frame, and let the silence wash over him. It had been a long ride. Not in distance, in weight. He stepped inside. The bell over the door didn't ring. It buzzed, like it was tired too. The kid behind the counter barely looked up. Dean grabbed a bottle of water, a protein bar, and reached into his coat for the folded bills he kept for emergencies. He placed them on the counter. The boy looked down, then up, and froze. Not at the money, at the jacket. Dean didn't notice at first. He was already reaching for the bar, unwrapping it with the patience of a man used to making MREs last through artillery. "You were in the military?" the boy asked. Dean looked up. One nod. Nothing more. The kid swallowed. My uncle was in Iraq. Lost his leg. Said he stopped going out 'cause people looked at him weird. Dean said nothing. Just chewed. The boy shifted. They made fun of him once. At a mall. Called him Captain Crutch. Dean's jaw paused mid-bite. The boy looked down, ashamed. "I didn't do anything. I was just a kid." Dean's voice finally came, dry, but soft. "You remembered." "Yeah. That's something." The boy looked like he wanted to say more, but the silence between them wasn't awkward. It was protective, like a fence built around something fragile. Dean took the water, nodded, and turned to leave, then paused, turned back, reached into his jacket and pulled something from the inner pocket. A patch, frayed but intact. An eagle, torn, then stitched. The one he hadn't worn in years. He placed it on the counter. "For your uncle," he said. The boy blinked, then smiled. Small, real. Dean walked out. Didn't wait for thanks. Didn't need it. Because sometimes honor doesn't wear medals. Sometimes it walks quietly into gas stations, hands off the last piece of its story, and disappears into the night like it was never supposed to be seen. The security camera at the gas station wasn't even HD. It was the kind that recorded in grainy black and white, timestamp glitching every few seconds. It didn't have night vision, no motion tracking, no cloud backup. Just a fat USB drive stuck in the back of an ancient monitor in the office behind the fridge. But it worked. And that night it caught everything. Dean walking in. The slow nod. The patch. The words. "For your uncle." It caught the look on the kid's face. That stunned stillness that can't be scripted. The kind of moment that looks small to everyone else, but to the right eyes says, "Something happened here." The kid, his name was Tyler, didn't sleep much that night. He replayed it in his head, over and over. Not just what Dean said, but how he said it. Quiet, like truth whispered through a storm. By morning, he'd done something he hadn't in years. He went to his uncle's place. Knocked. The man opened the door in pajama pants and a prosthetic that had seen better days. Frowned. "You good?" Tyler held out the patch. Told him the story. The uncle didn't smile. Didn't tear up. Just took the patch. Looked at it like it was an old scar someone else finally acknowledged. That evening, Tyler posted the clip online. Just 25 seconds. No music. No text overlay. Just captioned. "Last night, I met someone who didn't ask to be noticed, but deserved to be remembered." It didn't go viral right away. It didn't need to, because the first person to share it was a woman whose brother had served in the same unit Dean once did. Then came a retired chaplain. Then a mechanic who said he fixed that very bike 10 years ago, never knew the rider's name. Then a firefighter. Then a school teacher. By the next night, the video had 600,000 views. By morning, it hit local news. But no one knew who Dean was. The face in the video was blurry. The jacket didn't have a name tag. The bar, Riders END, never reported what happened. The staff didn't want the attention. The 2 men who mocked Dean, their accounts went dark. But one photo surfaced, the one the man in black had shown Dean on the curb. Someone recognized it. Someone posted, "That's Sergeant Dean Rivers. He saved my father's life. I thought he was gone." The comments exploded. "He was my CO. This man helped rebuild schools overseas. I remember him from a shelter. He never asked for help." Suddenly, the world wanted to find him. But Dean was already 2 towns over, riding quietly, alone, still fixing his own chain. Because sometimes, the men who carry the heaviest stories don't stick around for applause. They just make sure the next person walking in never feels forgotten again. They didn't know what to do at first. It wasn't like you could send him a message. He didn't use a phone. No address. No social media. Just a name someone dug up from a newspaper article dated back in 2005. Local vet builds shelter with own hands. Says, "This is just how I repay the quiet ones." The quiet ones. That line hit hard. Because somewhere between trending hashtags and military-themed bumper stickers, they'd all forgotten what silence really cost. So they started small. The gas station Tyler worked at, they replaced the broken sign and renamed it Dean's Stop. A local teacher added his story to the 7th grade history unit, not as curriculum, but as a question. What makes someone a hero if no one sees it? Someone made t-shirts. Not flashy. Just a bike chain in the shape of a circle with a single word under it. Still riding. But none of it brought him back. They asked around. Someone had seen him in a town up north, fixing a kid's tire with duct tape in silence. Another said he helped an elderly woman lift groceries without a word. He always moved on after. No trail. Just a ripple. So the town decided to stop chasing and start waiting. They rebuilt the bench outside the bar. Bolted a plaque to the wood. "This seat is for the one who held the line, even when no one else did." They left it empty. Every Friday. No one sat there. Not even the mayor. They didn't post signs. They didn't announce anything. They just made space. And then, one rainy Thursday afternoon, he returned. No fanfare. No music. Just a worn bike. A wet jacket. And the same tired eyes. He didn't go to the bar. He didn't even stop at the bench. He parked at the gas station. Bought a bottle of water. Walked to the counter. And handed Tyler something wrapped in cloth. It wasn't money. It was his dog tags. And 4 words. "Give them to the next one." Then he left. No one chased him. Because some men don't return for applause. They return. Just long enough to show you how to carry someone else's silence. And not drop it this time. It was just past dawn when the rain stopped. Dean had spent the night under a covered bench at an old highway rest stop. The kind with cracked concrete, a single vending machine, and a bulletin board filled with faded maps and missing pet flyers. He liked places like this. They didn't ask questions. They didn't expect answers. As he poured water into a travel cup, a sedan pulled into the lot, silver, low rumbling, engine running too smooth for a random traveler. The door opened, and out stepped a man in his 70s. Hat low, cane light, but the way he stood, it said officer louder than any uniform. Dean looked up. Their eyes met. The man tilted his head slightly. "You're slower than you used to be," he said. Dean blinked once. "You were never good at tracking." The man smiled. "I wasn't tracking. I was remembering." There was a pause. Then Dean spoke, voice low. "I thought you didn't make it out of Kandahar." "I almost didn't." The man walked closer, slow, cane tapping once for every 2 steps. "You pulled me out. Left your cover. Took a shot in the side just to get to me. I promised you something. Remember?" Dean didn't answer. Because he did remember. Every night the cold set into his ribs. He remembered. The man continued. "You told me one thing. Just one. Right before they dusted us off." Dean looked down. Muttered. "If I don't make it, find someone who did." The man nodded. "Exactly. And I never did. Never found anyone who remembered like you. Until last week. When my grandson showed me a blurry gas station video and asked, 'You know this guy?' He stepped forward, reached into his coat, pulled out a sealed envelope. I carried this for 20 years. Didn't know who it was for anymore. Figured maybe you'd know what to do with it. Dean took it. Didn't open it. Didn't need to. The man stood beside him now. Looked out over the highway. There's a boy back home, he said. Did 2 tours. Came back quiet. Scared. Keeps asking if what he did mattered. I keep trying to tell him yes. But my voice doesn't work the way yours does. Dean held the envelope in both hands. Felt the weight of it. Of all of it. Then nodded once. Tell him, I still ride. The man smiled again. Lighter this time. Then reached up and saluted. Not sharp. Not formal. But the kind you give to someone who carried more than you could. And never complained once. Dean didn't return the salute. He just looked at the envelope. And knew exactly where it needed to go. The boy lived 2 towns over. No sign outside the house. Just a crooked mailbox and a porch that hadn't been swept in months. The screen door hung loose at the hinge. Like no one really cared if it stayed shut anymore. Dean didn't knock. He stood by the gate. Let the wind speak first. Then, from inside, footsteps. Young. Heavy. Hesitant. A figure appeared at the door. Mid-20s, lean but slouched. Eyes sunken in like they were tired from watching too much night and not enough morning. He didn't step outside. Just leaned on the doorframe and stared. You the one my granddad sent? He asked. Dean nodded. The boy scoffed. I don't need therapy. Dean didn't reply. Didn't move. Just slowly reached into his pack and pulled out 2 things. The first, a bike tire. New. Clean. Pressurized. The second, a small, worn key. The kind you don't put on a chain. The kind you carry loose in your pocket so you always know it's still there. He placed both on the porch. Then turned to leave. The boy frowned. What's that for? Dean paused. Turned just enough to look over his shoulder. For the ride back, he said. If you choose to start it. The boy looked down at the items. Then back up. You're not gonna stay and explain? Dean shook his head. You already know the weight. My job's just to remind you there's still a road. He stepped off the porch. Down the path. Back to his own bike. The boy called after him, voice cracking slightly. Does it ever get better? Dean stopped. Didn't turn. Just said, no, but it gets quieter. Then he rode away. And for the first time in months, the boy didn't go back inside. He picked up the key. Turned it in his hand. And sat on the steps. Waiting for the wind to speak again. The rescue station sat off Highway 11. Just before the bridge that split the valley in 2. It wasn't marked on maps anymore. The kind of place only used when fire or flood swept through the canyon. Dean stopped there for water, maybe rest. He hadn't planned to stay. But something stopped him. Inside, the air was cool. Clean. The front desk had a bell no one touched. A binder with emergency contacts. A cork board of missing persons, lost pets, and old faces. One photo caught his eye. It was grainy, black and white, a line of soldiers. Faces half-shadowed by helmets, mud, and exhaustion. The kind of shot taken not for glory, but proof they'd been there. The tag under it read, to car unit, dust line, 2003. Dean stepped closer. 3rd from the left. That was him. Younger, sharper, eyes harder than now, but empty in a different way. Behind him, just barely visible, was the medic. She'd only been with them 3 weeks. Lost in the blast. No one ever said her name. Just silence. Not many recognized that photo, a voice said. Dean turned. Behind the desk, a woman in her 60s stood. Her hair pulled back in a braid. Uniform shirt crisp despite the weathered walls. I keep it there, she said. Because no one else does. Dean nodded once. You were in that unit? Dean didn't answer. She smiled. Thought so. He stepped forward, traced the edge of the frame. You knew her? The medic? She asked. Yeah, my niece. Dean's throat tightened. The woman leaned on the counter. They told us she was just gone. No story. No details. But my sister always believed someone remembered. Dean looked at the photo again. I remember. She didn't smile this time. She breathed. like she'd been holding that in for 20 years. I never knew who made it back, she whispered. Till now. Dean reached into his pack, pulled out a pin. Not military issue. A rusted circle, once worn under armor, never meant for display. It belonged to her. I took this off her vest, he said. The woman took it in both hands. You kept it all this time? Dean nodded. She was the only one who knew I was scared. A silence settled between them. Not sad, just overdue. Then she asked, can I give her name back to that photo? Dean's voice was low. She'd want that. The woman took a small card, wrote on it, slid it into the frame. Medic Rebecca Thorne. Courage without witness. Dean looked at the name, and for the first time in years, he let the stillness inside him soften. Not for long, just enough. The town didn't expect him back. They never do, because men like Dean don't circle. They move forward, quietly, always toward something no one else sees. A person, a promise, a pain that never quite found a home. But on the first Sunday of fall, he came. Not with fanfare, not with news, just with the same bike, the same worn pack, and the same silence wrapped around his shoulders like an old friend. The bench outside Ryder's End Bar was still there. Clean, repaired, empty. He didn't sit. He walked past it. Past the gas station where Tyler had grown an inch and a conscience. Past the mural someone had painted overnight, of a silhouette riding into a storm, bike tires leaving behind trails that turned into people standing tall. He walked to the town center. There, under the old war memorial, something new had been added. A plaque, just brass and words. No logo, no date, just this. To the ones who didn't ask for thanks. To the ones who kept riding. We remember you now. Dean stood there. Read it once. Then again. Then reached into his coat and pulled out the last thing he carried. The rusted tag from Rebecca Thorne's vest. Now polished, the chain mended. He placed it under the plaque. Stepped back. And that was it. No speech. No song. Just presence. Someone whispered from the crowd that had gathered quietly behind him. That's him. No one moved closer. No one dared. Because the man who had once been mocked for a broken bike had given something back they didn't know they'd lost. A standard. Not the kind in parades. The kind that says, even when no one's looking, you hold the line. He turned. Walked down the road. The wind was at his back. And this time, no chains snapped. Some men never raised their voice. They don't wear capes. They don't ask for medals. They just keep showing up. And when the world forgets them, they don't stop. They keep riding. If the story moved you, share it with someone who still believes quiet strength matters. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe to Endless Stories, where the forgotten ones finally get heard. Because not all heroes are loud. Some ride alone. So we don't have to.